Every person is on their own journey. Some journeys take us across oceans. Some lead us through grief. Some begin with a conversation or a diagnosis. Some lead us to places we've never been. Other journeys lead us to parts of ourselves we've never known. But every journey has the power to change who we are becoming. I'm Rachel, and this is Journeys, a podcast by Radiant Grace Productions. What happens when life changes? When somewhere along the journey we find ourselves asking a different question. Not who was I, not even who am I, but who am I becoming? For me, that question became deeply personal after a life-changing diagnosis forced me to reevaluate almost everything I thought I knew about myself. Our worth is not found in productivity. It is not found in perfection. It is not found in appearances, accomplishments, or the expectations of the world. Our worth is deeper than all of those things. My own journey took an unexpected turn on an ordinary morning in October of 2021, when I woke up and knew something wasn't right. My body wasn't responding the way it should. Movements that had once been effortless suddenly felt impossible. I felt like a stranger in my own body. Over time, doctors gave it a name: Functional Neurological Disorder. FND is a medical condition where the brain struggles to send and receive signals correctly. It is a problem with how the nervous system functions, causing very real physical, sensory, and cognitive symptoms. This diagnosis changed my life. There were, and still are, seasons of learning how to walk again. Days in a wheelchair or with a walker. Pain, uncertainty, and fear. And while those challenges were difficult, they weren't the hardest part. The hardest part was what happened beneath the surface. Because as my abilities changed, I began to realize how much of my identity had become attached to what I could do. The person who helped, who carried things, the person others could depend on. Then in April of 2024, a second wave hit. This time it wasn't just my body, but my mind changed too. I lost words. I lost sentences. Thoughts that once came easily felt trapped behind a fog I couldn't push through. I would forget what I was doing. And for the first time, I wasn't just afraid of losing abilities. I was afraid of losing the version of myself I thought I knew. The woman who could solve problems, who could take care of everyone else. The woman who rarely needed help. And I got angry. I remember asking God, why would you let me go through this again? I prayed, but sometimes it felt like my prayers never made it past the ceiling. I read my scriptures, but the peace I was searching for seemed far away. Then April of 2025 arrived, and for the first time, I allowed myself to consider something I had been fighting against for years. What if this wasn't temporary? A year had passed. A year of symptoms that weren't improving. Good days, bad days. A year of waking up, never knowing what version of my body or my mind I would have that day. And that was when I hit my lowest point. Not because of the diagnosis or the wheelchair or even the walker, but because I finally realized I might never get back the version of myself I had been trying so desperately to recover. And that realization shattered something inside me. Because if I couldn't become who I used to be, who was I now? That was when shame crept in, embarrassment, isolation. I found myself needing help with things I used to do without thinking. My husband and my sons began caring for me in ways I never imagined. And even though they reminded me every day that I wasn't a burden, I still wondered if maybe I was. Not because they treated me differently, but because I no longer knew how to see myself the way I once had. Somewhere along the way, I had begun measuring my value by what I could do, how much I could carry, how much I could help, how independent I could be. And when those things changed, I didn't just lose abilities. I began losing the version of myself I thought I was supposed to be. There were moments I looked at myself and thought, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like pieces of who I used to be had disappeared somewhere along the way. Not because I had forgotten my name, not because I had forgotten my faith, but because so many of the things I had used to define myself no longer fit. Caregiver, worker, problem solver, the person everyone could count on. For so long, those roles had become part of how I understood myself. I believed that if I just worked hard enough, prayed hard enough, or waited long enough, I would eventually get my old life back. The old me. The version of myself I kept trying to recover. But what if healing was never about going backward? What if healing was never about becoming who I used to be? What if healing is learning to move forward as the person standing here today? We live in a world that often measures worth by productivity, independence, appearance, achievement, what we can contribute, what we can do. So when our bodies change, or our circumstances change, or our capacity changes, it can feel like our value changes too. It can feel like our identity is slipping away. For a long time, I believed exactly that. I believed my brokenness made me less capable, less useful, less beautiful, less valuable, less worthy. But that was never the truth, because my worth was never found in what I could accomplish. It was never found in how much I could carry or how independent I could be. And it was never found in the labels I had built my identity around. My worth existed before any of those things, and it remains when those things change. As a disciple of Jesus Christ, I believe that worth is not earned. It is given. It is inherent. It is eternal. And maybe that is where real healing begins. Not when we become who we used to be, but when we discover who we have always been. Beneath every label, every role, every loss. A beloved child of God. Even now, there are moments when tears still come. They remind me that the pain was real, and sometimes still is. But I no longer see those tears as proof that I am broken. I see them as evidence that I have walked through something difficult, and survived it. Evidence that God never stopped walking beside me. Evidence that grace never left. Maybe you've cried your own quiet tears recently, the kind nobody sees, the kind you wipe away before anyone notices. Maybe you've wondered if heaven notices them. I want you to know something. You are seen, you are loved, and your story matters. There's a question that this podcast is based upon. Who are you becoming? Not who you were before life hurt you. Not who the world says you should be. Not who your labels say you are. But who is God helping you become through all of this? Because sometimes the most important healing isn't found in returning to who we were. It is found in discovering who we are. Beneath the labels, expectations, the fear, the loss. Remembering that we are His sons and daughters. The more honest I became about my own story, the more I realized something. I wasn't alone. So many people were quietly carrying questions that looked a lot like mine. Questions about worth, identity, and purpose. Questions about who they were becoming after life didn't go according to plan. Those questions are what inspired this podcast, because I believe every one of us is on a journey that shapes us, challenges us, refines us, and invites us to become more fully who God created us to be. That doesn't mean becoming perfect. It doesn't mean pretending we have everything figured out. And it certainly doesn't mean becoming someone else. It means embracing the person God is helping you become. It means choosing authenticity over performance, truth over appearance, grace over compassion. It means having the courage to say, I'm healing, I'm struggling, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm becoming. Because your story matters, not just the victories, not just the chapters where everything finally made sense, but the unfinished chapters too. The questions, the struggles, the quiet moments of growth that no one else sees. Every journey has the power to shape us, and every honest story has the power to remind someone else they are not walking alone. My hope is that these conversations encourage you to embrace your own journey. Trust the God who walks beside you, and discover that your worth has never depended on what you accomplish, how you appear, or how closely your life matches your plans. It has always been found in who you are, a beloved son or daughter of God. And perhaps becoming isn't about discovering someone entirely new. Perhaps it's about becoming more fully the person He has seen in you all along. Thank you for being here with me today. If you'd like to learn more about me or explore more episodes of Journeys, visit radiantgraceproductions.com. Every journey changes us. The question isn't whether life will change you. The question is, Who are you becoming? As you become the person God created you to be, you'll discover something beautiful. There has never been, and there never will be, anyone else exactly like you. So embrace your journey. Embrace who God is helping you become. And remember, the most meaningful journeys aren't just about where we go. They're about what we discover along the way and who we become because of it.